so much for joining us for another episode of Book Reviews with Joy and
Zen Garcia.
Yes, we're super excited to be back again. I know it's been a while. We have an awesome book ready to talk about. So Zen, would you like to talk about what book you decided to choose this month?
Yes, this is the second portion of the Legends of the Patriarchs and the Prophets, of which Joy edited and brought forth for public consideration. And I love this particular text. I think it adds greatly as a resource to those of you that are studying to better understand the biblical narrative and also the lives of the different patriarchs and the prophets. Because as the title says, the Legends of the Patriarchs and the Prophets, it brings forth in a manner all of the different mythologies, the legends, and the stories from different cultures, different translations and manuscripts, which are not known by a lot of people and not understood, or even people had a chance to read all of these different stories. And so it is put together in a manner that applies to and better understands and expounds upon the lives of the Old Testament patriarchs. So, again, I do recommend it, and I do share in doing the shows that I do different readings from it, and that I source it over a lot of different topics that I cover all throughout the work that I do.
And I know that you had mentioned that you wanted to maybe share a couple of paragraphs, so if you
Yeah,
could do that, that'd be awesome.
I thought, I just wanted to share a short couple of paragraphs about two different topics that are spoken about here in chapter 29 and 30 of this second portion of the Legends of the Patriarchs and the Prophets. In this passage it says, Robert Grosseteste, the Bishop of Lincoln, translated the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs into Latin in 1242, according to Matthew Paris. Although in this time Robert, Bishop of Lincoln, a man most skilled in Latin and Greek, translated accurately the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs from the Greek into Latin, which for many years had been unknown and concealed through the jealousy of the Jews, because of the prophecies concerning our Savior therein contained. But the Greeks, the most indefatigable investigators of all writing, being the first who learnt about this, translated it from Hebrew into Greek and kept it to themselves until our own time. For in the time of St. Jerome, or of any other holy interpreter, it could not in any way whatever come to the knowledge of the Christians, on account of the scheming malice of the Jews. Therefore the above named bishop, assisted by Master Nicholas, Greek, and a clerk to the Abbey of St. Albans, translated clearly, evidently, and word for word into Latin that glorious treatise to the strengthening of the Christian faith and to the greater confusion of the Jews. The Testaments were published by Grabe at Oxford in 1698 and were published by Fabricius in his Codex in 1722. And the reason this is important is because there's two different portions and two different kinds of renditions of the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. One has the messianic prophecies and shows that these prophecies were known by the patriarchs of the 12 tribes because they were passed down from their forefathers through the books of Enoch. And many people believe that these were later add-ons, later additions that were done after the birth of Christ. And we see that in the Dead Sea Scrolls that these messianic prophecies are also included. And so they, like so many other things like we've been covering, the word of the Lord and the Aramaic Targum, how allusion to Christ has been removed from these ancient scriptures. In the same manner, this individual is speaking about the messianic prophecies being removed from the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, which is very important and is something to consider, especially with all of the other information that we've been bringing forth. The other is chapter 30, and it's on the story of Job, and it says this. Job was the great-grandson of Esau. He was the son of Amos, the son of Zerah, the son of Esau. He had to wife Ramah, the daughter of Ephraim, son of Joseph. Ephraim left two sons who were prophets after him, But amongst the children of Esau there was no prophet, saving Job. Job was more patient than any other prophet, and therefore it is said of him in the Quran, certainly we have found this excellent servant patient. The rabbis say that Job, Jethro, and Balaam were King Pharaoh's 3 counselors, and they were also his chief magicians. They, by their enchantments, drew a line around the land of Egypt, so that no slave could escape out of it. For when he came to the line, he was held back and could not overleap it. But when the Israelites broke away and disregarded the enchanted line, Job, Jethro, and Balaam gave up their witchcrafts and turned to the service of the living God. Job lived in Bashan, which ties to Damascus and Ramah, and there he reigned as a prince. Job had 500 yoken of oxen. To every yoke there was a she-ass to carry the instruments of husbandry. He had also 1,000 flocks of sheep, and 1,000 sheep in each flock. He had 10 children, 7 sons, 3 daughters. In the testament of Job, we read that this great man, illumined by the divine light, comprehended that the idols which his people adored were no gods, and that there was but only one true God, the creator and the preserver of all things. There was near his house an idol which attracted great worship. He prayed the Lord to show him whether the idol was a demon or not, and he promised in that case to destroy it and to purify the place, and this he was able to do, being a sovereign. God sent him an angel who illumined him, strengthened him in his resolution, so that he destroyed the idol and abolished its worship. But this act drew upon him the wrath of Satan. The angel had foreseen the disasters which would befall Job if he resolved to strive against the evil one, and he warned Job what to expect. But Job answered that, being convinced of the truth, he was ready to suffer for it. See, this is another aspect of the story of Job that not a lot of people understand. First, that he was also an instructor to the Pharaoh in Egypt, and that he was an elder advisor, and that one of the reasons why he had this suffering brought upon him is because the time of Balaam, his 2 sons, Jannes and Jambres, they advised Pharaoh to bathe in the blood of innocent Hebrew children. And because Job did not speak out against this in great manner, Jethro completely leaving to the east, and he became the father-in-law of Moshe later. But Job also had this struggle where he suffered with boils brought against him. But the most interesting and the most important aspect to understand about the Testament of Job, which is a book that most people have not read about and don't know much about, is that God had warned and sent an angel to Job, and that Job was striving against Satan, that he wanted to destroy the high places and the altars near his area, because he was a prince. And so he was waging war against Satan, and that's the reason why Satan went after him. And so many people think, oh, why would God, in the King James Version of the Bible, allow Satan to destroy his family, to reduce him from his wealth, and also to bring impoverishment and disease and suffering against him? But what they don't understand about the story is that Job was warned previously, and he knew beforehand that these challenges and this suffering would come upon him, and that if he should endure, that he would be blessed double fold. And so God asked him, do you want to, are you up for this challenge? And he was basically like, bring it on. And so very important to understand about the suffering that, because in the story, it sounds, oh, well, why don't you test my elder and my righteous Job? And it's almost callous that God would allow Satan to go and destroy him and his family and to put him through such suffering just on a whim, just on a challenge. But yet when you understand the backstory, then it makes much more sense. And it's, again, God in his compassion and his loving kindness that Job was warned, and that he was, also he was blessed and congratulated for tackling Satan's high places in his kingdoms and for destroying them. And so it's these kind of things which are contained in these ancient books and these ancient manuscripts, which are little understood by those of you that do not study or read the extra biblical material. And in the case of even just now the story of Job and the testament of the 12 patriarchs, and why you don't mostly know about this is because, again, the messianic prophecies contained within them, and that the word of the Lord, that he was a helper to the patriarchs all throughout the establishment of even Israel as a nation and a chosen people unto God. These kind of things are important to understand, but overlooked when you don't examine or consider reading or look into the possibilities of the extra biblical text. And that's one of the reasons why we not only love to read them, but we love to share them with you as well.
Absolutely. It's amazing all the different things that even I've learned by being part of Sacred Root Publishing in the last year, and all the different things that were confusing, and how all of these different texts really truly answer all of those questions that were all iffy or any kind of uncertainty. It's amazing how all the answers are out there.
Yes.
But with that being said, you can get this at sacredwordpublishing.com. You can also check out the we will actually have a PDF of just a couple of the first chapters or the intro or something like that, so that you can get a feel for what the book is about, and that's also on sacredwordpublishing.com. But yeah, please check it out. We will definitely have this video out very soon, so hopefully you'll see it and enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us.
I definitely think it will greatly bless your life.
Yes, thank you so
Thank you
much.
all.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Bye.